Beaumont meeting of Tuesday, February 4th, 2020, and we'll be in a closed session. I'm, opening it 5:01. Roll call, please.
Councilmember White?
Here.
Councilmember Martinez?
Here.
Councilmember Carroll?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara?
Here.
Mayor Santos?
Here. Any public speaking or
No, sir.
no? Okay. City Attorney, could you read the items for discussion on closed session, please?
Yes, the first item that council will be meeting on in closed session is conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D2, claims of Maria Kritzberger and estate of Darren Kritzberger. And item number 2 is conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, Urban Logic versus City of Beaumont et al., case number RIC 1797201. And that's it.
Okay. We will call adjourn to a closed session. At 5:02.
tuned up here. Oh, I heard about this. Here it is. I heard about that. There I am.
So we have 3 public comments and 1 agenda.
This chair.
He's on the go, man.
Killing me, council member.
I know, man, this is on the go.
Hey, Baron, how are you?
Jeez, it's been almost a day.
I know you're going to get tired of me by the end of next week, right?
Never.
Are we good?
Another 5 years, I ain't retired yet.
Watch it.
We just come back from the closed session. Would you kindly, City Attorney, give us a report on the closed session?
Yes. The council met in closed session. Item number 1 was conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D2, claims of Maria Kritzberger, and estate of Darren Kritzberger, and there was reportable action taken in closed session. There was a motion by Councilmember Martinez and a second by Councilmember Carroll to deny the claims of Maria Kritzberger and the claim of the estate of Darren Kritzberger, and the vote was unanimous in favor of denying the claim. And so Mayor Santos voted to deny the claim, Councilmember White voted to deny the claim, Councilmember Carroll voted to deny the claim, as did Councilmember Laura and Councilmember Martinez. The second item discussed in closed session was conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, Urban Logic versus the City of Beaumont, case number RIC 1797201, and there was no reportable action taken on that item. And that's the report out from closed session.
Thank you. City Attorney, Mr. Pickney. This is the City Council regular session. I'll call to order at 6:03. Roll call, please.
Councilmember White. Here. Councilmember Carroll.
Here.
Councilmember Martinez.
Here.
Mayor Protem Lara.
Here.
Mayor Santos.
Here. Mr. Berry, can we do the pledge of allegiance, please?
Close your eyes. Place your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Approval adjustments to the agenda. Any conflict of interest? Disclosure? Okay. Let's do the announcements and recognition, proclamations, and correspondence. On the item, on this item, number 1 is the California Highway Patrol 2019 review. Good evening. Good evening.
There we go.
if I have not met, I believe I actually had the opportunity to meet everybody here. In case I have not, Mike Alvarez, I'm the commander of the California Highway Patrol here in Beaumont. I took over this command about a year and a half ago. I won't take up too much of your time. I just wanted to touch in with you guys and let you know some of the accomplishments, some of the challenges that the Highway Patrol has faced over 2019 and where we're trying to push as we go into 2020. When I took over the command, I was focused on three major things. One was to decrease the number of people killed in crashes in the 860 square miles that's within our jurisdiction. I felt that our fatal traffic collision rate was inordinately high for a small CHP office, and so I wanted to see if we can't start driving that number down, despite the growing population that is going on in our community. Second thing was to create more partnerships with those that we operate with. I think it's safe to say that the Highway Patrol is really good at what we do. The police departments are very good at what they do, and Riverside County Sheriff's Department is really good at what they do. And historically, law enforcement has struggled because we've operated in silos, right? The communication has not always been there. And something that I believe that the Highway Patrol in this office particularly struggled with was being able to reach out and create partnerships with our allied law enforcement agencies and our community partners to better serve the community that we were attempting to reach. And then finally, the third thing was to add an education component to our enforcement efforts. I'm sure all of us can agree here that the Highway Patrol is really good at issuing citations and taking people to jail for DUI. But where we really lacked is creating some type of education component to complement our enforcement efforts. And so throughout 2019, that was my main drive, that was my main focus. And I had the opportunity to work with, at that time, Mayor Martinez on a task force that was to drive the number of fatal traffic collisions down within our jurisdiction. I'm happy to report that we've decreased the number of people killed within our jurisdiction by almost 10%, 9.1 to be exact. And I think a lot of that is because of the partnerships that we've created with our local agencies, with the Beaumont Police Department, with the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. I can say that I'm very, very fortunate to be able to work with Chief Talese in the city, because with our partnership, our two agencies can complement each other. We can work side by side, and in reality, the community is the one that wins. Right? The community sees the Highway Patrol and the Beaumont Police Department working hand in hand together, and ultimately, all we're doing is providing a better public safety service to the community that we serve. And then the education component, what we did was we took a page out of the private sector's book and beefed up our social media presence. We, at that time when I took over, did not really have a Facebook. We didn't have an Instagram or YouTube, barely operated on Twitter. And we decided to kind of create our presence in the social media world. I think all of us can agree that the community is very good at communicating via social media. And up until we improved or opened up those platforms, the Highway Patrol required our community members to either call us on the phone or write us a letter. And we were missing a huge part of the community that either didn't have time to do that, didn't want to do that, but still needed their voice to be heard. And so now we have a very robust Facebook page. We have a YouTube channel. We maintain our Twitter. But where we've really seen a lot of traction is on Instagram. So I feel like, with those components in place, we're starting to implement those education component to complement our enforcement efforts in a more productive and sound way. And then I think that's something that as we move into 2020, there are a number of issues that I think we're all about to experience, and I believe Caltrans is about to speak next, and that's going to be one of the big challenges that we have coming up. And I'd like to say, just before Caltrans comes up, is that they have the full support of the Highway Patrol. I will allocate as many resources as they need to ensure that this huge project in our jurisdiction go safe and productive. You know, something when we had the Cranston fires and then we had the Valentine's Day storm and we lost the 243 and the 74 for Idlewild. And something that I was very, very vocal about was I wanted to get through that project, through that construction project, without anybody dying as a result of a collision or as a result of the construction that was going on. Likewise, my goal is to make that same commitment to the community today, that we're about to start an enormous project. It's going to take 2.5 to 3 years to get through this. But my hope is that when we're on the other side of this, no one will have lost their lives because of the construction or because of a traffic collision. And my commitment to you as the city council is that I will make sure I dedicate those resources to keep our community safe. I'm very transparent about this. I know that I'm a state employee, and technically my boss is the governor and the state legislature. But make no mistake, we are Beaumont residents here, and we report to you as well. We want to respond to your concerns. I want to just take a few moments. If you have any questions, open it up to you and see if you have any feedback. Something that I really try to encourage, not just from the city councils that I serve, but also from the community, is that constructive feedback. I don't want us. We've had some really big accomplishments over the year, and I'm not ready to take my foot off the pedal. So I need that constructive feedback in order to make sure that I'm still heading in the right direction that you would like to see the Highway Patrol office that serves you headed.
I have a
Very
quick
good, yeah.
question for you. The 60 project,
Yes.
they're about ready to open up that lane?
Yes.
And how is this all going to be impacted with the Caltrans project?
It's going to be very dynamic. The 60 is about to open up that second lane, so we're going to give back a lane to the community for regular traffic. One of the concerns that I have when we open that up is that because people have been restricted to that one lane for so long, there is going to be a natural tendency to fly through there. So in order to combat that tendency, I'm allocating some resources to do some extra traffic enforcement. Once again, to complement that traffic enforcement, we just posted an educational video, public service announcement on our social media, as well as gave it to the Riverside County Transportation Commission so that they can share it on theirs about our efforts. So when SR 60, those two projects are definitely going to overlap. And Caltrans can kind of give you the specifics as far as the dates go, but I don't think I could ever say that those two are not going to compete or that people are going to have to compete for roadway. It's going to be a very unique challenge. I think a challenge that maybe none of us have ever really experienced in this community. And with the rate our population is growing, it's going to be exponentially more difficult. I know I may not have answered that question.
No, I think you did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question. Everybody that goes through the pass or lives in the pass has seen a significant increase in the traffic on the 10 as it goes through Banning Beaumont and then on to Yucaipa. And we know there's been a number of accidents and collisions in the Yucaipa, Cali Mesa sort of connection area because of that construction. So do you think the increase in volume, which is pretty significant,
Sure.
Is because of the 60 impact?
I think that the increase in traffic on the 10 has a lot to do with it because Caltrans and the Riverside County Transportation Commission recommended the 10 as an alternate route. Right, wrong, or indifferent, that's kind of where we were. So I do think that some of the increase in traffic is as a result of the 60. And I think some of it is just simply because our population is growing. We're especially Beaumont, right? It's a thriving, healthy community, and we love to see that. And I think the Highway Patrol stands behind the community in that sense. But I think that as law enforcement professionals and traffic safety managers, that presents a huge challenge for us because our infrastructure, I don't know if we're being able to hold the number of people, the number of cars that we have out there. And I don't anticipate that number is going to decrease or slow down for that matter at any time soon.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you and appreciate the time that I worked with you on the task force. It was very productive, and I commend your department for your professionalism. It was very, very refreshing to see, and it was a productive time. And I want to thank you for that, and I want to assure the city, and I'm sure Mayor Santos will agree, that if we do have any of these type of grant opportunities in the future or for anything else, we're willing to definitely partner with you, because it was a productive time, and I think we need more of those. So hopefully the state, and you probably know more of what the state might offer, are there any grants out there that you heard of that might be coming by your way?
So I have applied for another Office of Traffic Safety grant. I believe that because, and I have to credit this to the horsepower that came along with that task force. I had 2 mayors, a county supervisor, Caltrans, Riverside County Transportation, the Morongo Mission Band of Indians. I had, I kind of used you guys as my muscle, and because of that, I think that task force was effective, and I agree that we were really productive. And so, using the successes that we were able to accomplish, I've asked the state for another grant.
Well, and the component that we had reaching out to the youth, especially at the college and the local high schools and stuff, I think that was very important. So hopefully we make sure we include those members in the task force and
Will do.
try to get the students involved as well to get out the word so that they can relate to some
Yeah.
of these issues.
One of the things that we were going to show here, and the reason my public information officer is here, is because we created a partnership, like the city council member said, with the Mount San Jacinto City College, and we were experiencing an inordinate amount of crashes involving people from between 21 and 29 years of age, and we were struggling with making that connection with that age group. So we reached out to the college. And we said, hey, we need you to create 2 public service announcements. And I will provide you with any resource that you need. I'll get you ambulances, I'll get you fire trucks, I'll get you helicopter, whatever you need, I can get that for you. I just need you to create the message that can connect with those community members at that age group. And we were going to show one of the videos here today. I'm not sure if the sound was working, and so we couldn't get the sound working. But the drunk driving PSA went out in December, because that's Drunk Driving Awareness Month. And it's on our YouTube page and on our Facebook, and has had phenomenal results. And again, I credit that to the task force, because we didn't come up with the idea. I believe it was you and Mayor Welch that said, let's reach out to the college and see if we can't get them to create the message for us. And I believe that that's the beginning of a beautiful relationship with that college now, because I'm not ready to stop that.
The only thing I will say that, I travel a lot from Beaumont to Redlands to, up to Claremont on a daily basis. But you guys really did an excellent job of any transition that you make in there. I only encountered once minor accident on going to Calamasa. But there's a slowdown. But you guys really, you respond so quick on that, any accident I experienced.
Thank you. Good.
Excellent job. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
You want some video or something? Or what I have in here is the item will be the Caltrans report of state highway projects.
Hello.
Hello.
So I don't think I've had the pleasure of meeting many of you. So my name is Emily Leinen. I am a public information officer for Caltrans District 8. I'm here today to give you an update on the I-10 tune-up, is what we're calling it. It's the pavement rehabilitation project that's happening from Pennsylvania Avenue all the way to State Route 111. So basically, what's going to be happening is we are going to be replacing various slabs in lanes number 1 and number 2. We're repaving lanes 3 and 4. The shoulders will be upgraded, the center guardrail median will be upgraded, and there will also be an overlay there. The ramps will also be upgraded, curbs and shoulder, and they will also be repaved. So right now what they're doing is they have begun work. They are working mostly in the center median, and they are working on restriping, so they're going to be doing a lot of realignment. This is probably going to continue for about 2 to 3 months. And then what will happen is a crossover will be set in place right around 8th Street. This will shift traffic over to that center median to allow 4 lanes to be open at a time. So that won't be happening probably till end of April, beginning of May. That's when you'll probably see a little bit more of a traffic impact throughout the area. But until then, right now, most of the traffic impacts will be very minimal. If we are doing any lane closures, everything is going to be happening at night. We're not going to close lanes during the day. We would not do that to you. The first segment is happening from Pennsylvania Avenue to about San Gregorio Avenue. That's the first segment. So they'll be there for about 6 months. After that, they'll continue to the next segment. It's all work on the eastbound side for now. Once they get to the next segment, it's all eastbound. Then they're going to go to the third segment, all eastbound. When they hit the 111, they're going to turn around and come back the other side on the westbound side. Are there any questions so far on that? I'm sure there are plenty, but I just want to make sure that that's clear. I also have, sorry, I hit the computer, I'm so sorry. You will see various fact sheets. These are fresh off the printer. So, feel free to glance at them, look them over, ask me any questions about them. We are, working very heavily in terms of the outreach on this. We are setting up a website. We are setting up a hotline. All of that information is on this fact sheet and these little note cards that were hopefully accompanied with the fact sheet. If not, I do have a little bit extra with me to hand those out to anyone. But this website will be up and running by tomorrow. The hotline is established. It's good to go. People can start calling that if they have any questions. They will be able to answer them from that hotline as well. So any time of day, it's available.
Okay. Very good. I will ask quickly on here. Because now I don't understand the crossover on the 8th Street. There will be crossover. There will be no lane close on that. You said April up to May. What will happen to our Coachella activities in there?
The contractor is aware of Coachella and Stagecoach. We're doing everything we possibly can to make sure that they look at their schedule. We have notified them, not to work basically Thursday afternoon all the way to Monday afternoon. So, they're not working on the weekends. They never will be. Basically, when that crossover happens, Coachella and Stagecoach should be ending. So we really hope that there won't be any issues, that they shouldn't have too many problems. When I have that information, I will definitely send it your way so that everyone can send it to everyone, so, everybody's going to be aware. I just don't have that solid schedule yet, and I apologize for that. But it's just too soon to tell at this moment. But as soon as I get it, you can be sure it'll be pushed out to you.
Very good.
Hi. So just to reiterate, because I'm looking at the your map. So it says Beaumont to Banning completed in fall of 2020. Now we're seeing that as segment 1 only on the eastbound side.
Correct.
Okay, so as it goes all the way down to 111 and turns around to come back,
Yes.
are they going to come back, or are they going to come back to Beaumont and then work back to
It's
111?
basically all eastbound side. This will be updated periodically, this fact sheet. This was mainly to get that information out there and just keep it updated constantly. But right now, all work is happening eastbound. They will be doing some westbound work, but that's in terms of picking up the yellow striping.
So, and the reason I'm asking is because here it looks like we're going to be done with everything on 2020. So we're going to be doing up to fall of 2020 eastbound, and then somewhere in 21 or so, we're going to be coming back through.
Right.
from
No,
westbound.
that makes sense. That's something that we will correct in the future.
Okay, so-
But yes, right now, this is just for the eastbound side
Okay,
location.
just the eastbound side, okay, then another one for the one. coming
Correct.
back. So on some of the ramps here that are eastbound that say through 2022, then that may not really be true because we're planning to do the ramps and the guards and everything.
That should be
as you
correct,
go.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
So just eastbound.
Go ahead, Val.
Emily, thank you for bringing this, and thank you for being here. I was at the community meeting that you just spoke at about a week and a half ago.
CBAN, yeah.
And there was a fold-out map that was at that meeting where it had projects and it had dates all the way through from about Palm Springs all the way down through.
That did not come from Caltrans.
Okay.
Rhea actually had, it was a Excel spreadsheet that she had.
No, it was a color map because it had all the things by it, I think.
Okay, but that did not
All
come
right,
from
thank you.
Caltrans.
That was what my question is. I was going to ask that you make sure we get that if,
Yeah, those
if that was
projects
the
that she
case.
had listed were city projects. They weren't necessarily all Caltrans. She did have some that were
Oh.
Caltrans related on there, but not, it was a list. I'm not sure where she got
yeah,
that.
it went all the way down the 10, so it
Right.
wasn't just the city, but I'll check
Right.
into
It was
that.
city
You've
and
answered my
Caltrans,
question
yes.
enough. Thank you. And when you say you're going to upgrade the ramps, would
Mm-hmm.
you just give us a little more detail on what that means for the people that are listening to what upgrading the ramps means?
So not only will they be repaved, the shoulders will be upgraded and there will be ADA ramps.
All right, thank you.
Any questions? Any other questions?
I do have one more that I thought about.
Yes,
Do we have any plans to reroute the traffic from the freeway through town at any point?
We don't like doing that because we know how much traffic that can cause for
That's what I'm
everyone.
asking.
We're going to try to avoid that as best as possible, but we can't control where people want to take their detours a lot of the time.
But I mean, as far as Caltrans is not planning to have that. a
We're,
part
yeah,
of their
we're not exactly planning on doing anything like that, no.
How was the starting point determined? You're starting at Pennsylvania instead of starting at, say, the boundaries of the city of Beaumont, all the way through the boundaries of the city of Cabazon?
I believe that was basically probably design, maybe funding as well. That's something I would have to look into. I'm sorry to get that, definite answer for you. More than happy to get that for you.
Steve?
Yes. I'm sure that some of the traffic congestion that Councilmember Carroll spoke about is due to that project underway now between Calamasa and Yucaipa. Can you have any rough idea when that's supposed to be completed?
June this year.
Whoa.
Yep.
All right.
They're on track. They're almost done. It's actually the same contractor. So they're just moving all their operations down here. So that's why they were able to start so early. So we were kind of excited about that, but also a little short notice.
That's good. Thank you. Okay. Anything else? Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, great.
you so
Thank you.
Okay, there will be, I'm going to a public comments period. Item not on the agenda. Any one person may address the city council on any matter not on this agenda. If you wish to speak, please fill out a public comment form provided at the back of the table and give it to the city clerk. There is 3-minute time limit on public comments. There will be no sharing or passing time to another person. State law prohibits the city council from discussing or taking action brought up by your comments. First of all, I would like to really to thank the public to be part of this, public comments and also part of the city council. I mean, this is my first time to thank you guys. I mean, I really appreciate being here, you sharing your ideas and your concern. Any public
Yes.
comment?
First speaker is Anita Worthen.
Okay, let me, we open up, public comment is, we open at 6:29 PM. Go ahead, Anita.
Thank you, Mayor Santos and the City Council. Of course, all of you have known that we did the Veterans Military Family Friends Expo on Saturday, January 25th, and I'm here to say thank you so very much for hosting this for us, and we had over 500 people here. It was great. We had over 62 exhibitors, so it turned out to be really good. And what we do is that we say that it's not just for veterans, it's for friends, it's for families, it's for information going out to people so that they would know some of the resources and help that's available. To that end, we have some certificates here for the city of Beaumont we'd like to present to the city of Beaumont. How do we do that now? Do we come up and give it to you? All of you have the,
All of us will stand up. and
okay, so
you could,
we have that,
come
and
over
all
here.
of you at your positions have a copy of the program that we have, and on the back of the program, it shows the city of Beaumont as being, thank you, as being one of our major sponsors. So we have a certificate for the city of Beaumont for helping us so much. We also have a certificate for the mayor, Mayor Santos. Thank you for everything that you have done. We appreciate it. And our another committee member that is an integral part of this committee, which is Nancy Carroll. I'd also like to have a certificate for Beaumont Pass Transit. I had talked to Elizabeth, and I guess now it's Beaumont Transit. It's not Pass Transit anymore. And I'd like to give a big shout out to our Beaumont Police, they were so great. Officer Bonstrop thinks that he's no longer a part of the committee, but he was there, and it was really, really good. And I thank you all for attending, so I'm going to present this to you. Another person I'd like to give a compliment to is the staff maintenance person, Ken Pop. He went above and beyond in helping us set up everything here, taking down anything that we needed. So thank you so, so very much. And we're already starting to work on 2021. Can you believe it? It's here. I would also like to give a shout out and thanks to Ashley Starr. She was very, very helpful in getting things out. And we had a lot of people to come in and donate blood, which is really important. And the community college, which is MSJC, they were there. So on the back of your program and inside your program, you can see how many exhibitors that we have and all of our sponsors. Thank you so much, and to the city manager, Todd Parton, for allowing us to do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita.
So,
You want to stand up? I don't know who will take pictures.
here is for Mayor Santos, for Nancy Carroll, for the city of Beaumont. Thank you so, so very, there's,
there's a picture.
We take care of you.
oh no, I'm not a good picture taker.
You can't avoid this one.
Oh, God. All righty, so I'll put this here, which is our Our 11th annual Pass Area Veterans Military Family and Friends Expo. It was absolutely wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
Good job.
And I will testify to the officer, you never retire. You're always on.
You can run, but you can't. Okay.
Any speak?
Next speaker is Henry Liao.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Henry Lau, and I am the General Manager at Morongo Golf Club at Tuckwood Canyon. I'm here tonight to invite you and the Beaumont community to join us for the 2020 Symetra Tour IOA Championship being hosted by Tuckwood Canyon on March 25th through the 29th. Symetra Tour is a national tour that serves as a gateway for women golfers to join the ranks of the LPGA. This will be the 5th year that the Morongo and Tuckwood Canyon have hosted the IOA Championship here in Beaumont, which has helped us attract professional golfers and visitors from around the globe. This is a great opportunity to see the future of professional women's golf. In fact, the last 4 winners of the Symetra IOA Championship are currently playing on the LPGA Tour. The tournament takes place on March 27th through the 29th and is completely free to the public to attend. The event includes a 2-day Pro-Am event for sponsors and local amateurs to team up with a professional golfer to play on the Symetra Tour. There are also a number of sponsorship opportunities for local businesses to participate in. We will also plan to have events for kids, so we want to invite families to come out as well. Our goal is to grow the event and make it something that is fun for the entire community. We want to thank the city for your support over the years and look forward to working with all of you as we get closer to the event. I strongly encourage the city council to come join us and experience the event firsthand. I think you'll see just how special this event truly is for our community. I'll leave my card with the city clerk in case if any of you have any questions directly involving the event, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Lau.
Okay. Next speaker, Linda Kimball.
Good evening. I'm Linda Kimball. I live at 1420 Yarrow Lane. Again, I'm asking the status of the shades, Todd Parton, at Wildflower Park and Mountain View Park, and then from there on, because I live near those two, as my grandkids live near me. So I'd like to know the status of that. Item number 2 is I'm asking about the $500 you have to apply for Melrose. I don't have it because I paid it off, but my neighbors have it. Can it be lowered? Because that's their, I mean, you should be able to go to the assessor's office and find out what you owe on the Melrose. That was, if it can be lowered, that would be great. I'm just going to say for the citizens that have it. And my third is I'm asking again for the 2-seater at the bus station or bus stop at Edelweiss and Oak Valley, which I was told could be there. Because I take my grandson on the bus and he loves it. And I take it, I like it, because I don't have to drive in this traffic. So those are the 3 items that I have. I still got time, but I'm gonna let somebody else close it out there. But I would like the status of those items. The second one is really important, the Melrose. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Our final speaker is Nancy Hall.
First, I want to say it's beautiful in here. I haven't been in the new location yet. Nice job. Okay, so in 1889, there was this huge flood in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. It actually ended up being, it was supposed to be a resort thing. They had everything covered, but that dam broke and took out 2,200 people. It was a catastrophic failure. In 1994 and 1999, we had 2 major earthquakes in Southern California. One with Northridge, the other one we had out here in the desert. what I'm saying to you is these are things that happen. They're real life events, and we could have it happen in Beaumont. My concern is when I looked on the agenda and I saw that there was going to be discussed about the fire station, that you had it set up for over on Western Knolls. That's a peninsula. You have bridges on both sides and the tracks on the other side. Your backup is a mountain. So I was in Northern California when the Oakland earthquake happened and the bridge and the whole top layer fell down. So how are you going to protect the officers and the police officers, the fire department, and how are they going to protect people if they're on a peninsula and those bridges go down and they can't get across to 4th Street to the Hidden Canyon or Amazon, or they can't make the other direction and go over to Fairway Canyon? It's a bad location. It's not a good place to have your fire and your police. Not only that, but if you look on the little map that I gave you, I kind of drew it out really rough. You can see that I was really interested in the conversation tonight. I didn't expect that, but in looking at the highway and coming in, the area at the 60 freeway, Caltrans is going to fix the problems with the pavement going down the freeway, but I haven't heard anything about the 6010 interchange. So right now, that traffic, when the B Street Bridge is done, is going to go over Patero Boulevard to San Mateo and get Oak Valley Parkway to get on the 10 freeway. We also have that 1 million square foot that just got approved for Cherry Valley Boulevard, plus the Stater Brothers. Hemet now, all the way up to Cottonwood, has housing and is still coming this way. So Riverside County Board of Supervisors put out a letter to or announcement to all the citizens. What about our traffic problems? It's hindsight now. We told them about traffic then. We told you about problems with traffic. I don't believe that the traffic studies are taking cumulative impacts into account. This was a problem. I know I'm losing my moment here, but back in 1993, there was hills sliding off the hills and Anaheim Hills, and our houses, I'm sorry. And the problem, the geologist that did the study on those reports said it had to do with the type of dirt. This is why Legacy Highlands never happened, because they had to bring dirt in because the dirt was not sustainable to the wash that would happen. I'm just asking you tonight, when you're thinking, when all this stuff is going on, I can't stay for the rest of the meeting, but you think about these things, the cumulative impacts, and all the people you're bringing in. We don't have recycled water yet. It's truly the cart before the horse. But let's be smart. Let's not have this catastrophic stuff that's happened in the past happen in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Anybody?
No more speakers.
No more speaker? Do you want to respond, or you're okay? We're okay.
You're referring to Ms. Kimball's
Yeah.
comments?
Probably briefly.
Yeah, very briefly. So we had done some preliminary cost estimates for those canopy structures. We're finalizing those estimates right now, and those are going to be in the 6 figures each, so they're a significant capital investment, which we're programming in and be presenting to council in your budget discussion as your next phase of consideration for your CIP. So we're looking at those estimates, kind of developing a standard and then developing a cost that we need to roll in, and then we need to look at some phasing and that issue there. With regard to the fees for the calculation of the Melrose, and the Melrose assessments are not like a loan. So there's assessments that are created through a process, and they're a flat assessment rate that's established and is collected and is applicable to certain costs. So when we go through a process to calculate the payoff, there's a bunch of different factors that are there. So it's not like looking at what your payoff is on your home loan or looking at what the payoff is on a credit card balance. So I'd be happy to sit down with you and kind of walk through so we can kind of work through those issues. But the cost is a direct cost pass-through that we pay in fees to the special tax consultant to run those calculations. So there's an initial payment of $400 that's paid to run an initial calculation specific to each site or property. And then there's a final $100 that's due at the time should you decide to pay that off. In recognition that $500 is a lot of money or $400 to just find out, we do provide an average payoff for each improvement area or for each CFD to give you an idea about what the average cost is, and each one will vary based on how long you've owned the home and a bunch of other different factors there. So, and when we look at the RMA and look at the formation of those CFDs, it does provide that the homeowners, the property owners, are supposed to pay a fee for the calculation of those payoff amounts. So it's all consistent with CFD formation, and there's a process that goes into it. And again, it's not as simple as just what is my payoff, what's my balance. So
That's probably as far as you can go on that
Okay.
particular item.
I really go.
Well,
Given
Appreciate that.
On that
And
particular item, just because.
in the
Brown
bus
Act.
stop, yeah, the bus stop is looking to be completed in March.
Okay. Thank you, Ted.
So just,
Thank you.
the Brown Act, just to
Fair enough.
explain to the member of the public, the Brown Act does allow you to respond briefly to questions or comments from the public, but because it's not an agendized item, we can't get into a back and forth discussion with the public about it.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on. On the consent calendar. Items on this consent calendar are taken as one action item unless an item is pulled for further discussion here or at the end of the actions items. Approval of all ordinances and resolution to be read by title only. Any items need to be pulled on for discussion or comment on this? If none, I need a motion. Please.
I'll move that we approve consent calendar items 1 through 11.
Second.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Councilmember Carroll,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
Yes.
Mayor Pretend Lara,
Yes.
Mayor Santos.
Yes. Okay. On the public hearing, we move on. On action item, approval of ordinances and resolution to be read by title only. On item number 12, acceptance of a revocable offer of dedication of easement for streetlight maintenance and acceptance of streetlights maintenance in the Four Seasons community. Staff report, Jeff
Mr.
Hart,
Mayor?
please.
Yes. I'm going to recuse myself. It pertains to my
Oh.
neighborhood where I live.
yeah.
Just,
Yes.
yeah, any discussion.
That's good, Barry.
We have public comment on that?
After that,
Okay.
yeah, after.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Yeah, so the item before you is the acceptance of the maintenance for the Four Seasons community streetlights. In August of last year, staff presented a program to accept the streetlights in the gated community of Four Seasons. It was approved that upon formal request from the Four Seasons community to operate and maintain the streetlights, following inspections, acquisition of legal access, and ownership of the community streetlights, that staff would overtake the maintenance. A formal request was received in late October, which triggered the inspection of 285 streetlights, 33 electric pedestals and meters, and confirmation of legal ownership and right to grant access through 209 different lettered lots. Staff has confirmed all of the proceeding is now prepared to overtake the maintenance of the community lights, and it's estimated the cost to maintain these lights throughout the remainder of this fiscal year will be approximately $22,000 in maintenance and $4,000 in electricity cost. With that, it's recommended that the City Council accept the irrevocable offer of dedication easement for streetlight maintenance and accept the streetlights for maintenance in the Four Seasons community. I'm available for any questions you might have.
Thank you, Jeff. Any public comment on this?
Yes, Mike Martin.
Mayor, members of City Council, city staff, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mike Martin. I am a resident of Four Seasons, and I'm also the retired Edison manager for the Pass area. One of my responsibilities in dealing with the city of Beaumont back when I was the manager out here was streetlight operations. The city council at that time wanted to be assured that the Edison-owned streetlight system that the city was paying for was being properly operated and maintained for the citizens of Beaumont. Today, many years later, I and others are now asking the same thing from the city of Beaumont, from your city-owned system. Since I moved back to the Pass area and into Four Seasons about 5 years ago, I was surprised to learn that the city had decided to get into the street lighting business. I am guessing that it was an Urban Logic's proposal as a new revenue source for the city, which is perfectly fine. But if you're going to own and maintain a street lighting system, I feel that the city needs to respond in a timely manner to keep the system in a good working order. I know where there are lights in Four Seasons that have either been out or on during the day, which is about a 2-minute correction to replace the photocell on the top of the head, for well over a year. And in my mind, that's unacceptable. I had the occasion to talk to one of your repairmen in 2018. Actually, there were 2 people with 2 vehicles, which I don't quite understand why it takes 2 people, 2 vehicles to change out a burnout bulb or replace a bad ballast, but that's another issue for another time. I asked them if they would replace the photocells on a couple of lights that were out, or that were on during the day, because they had to drive right past them going to the gate on the way out. Those lights are still on today. I've also been told that there was a pole that was hit on Four Seasons Circle that it took 2 years to replace. Today, it still has the wrong size mask arm on it and looks really out of place on that street. In conclusion, and as you deliberate the agenda item before you, would you please consider asking staff to answer the following questions that I think would help you understand what it takes to operate a streetlight system. What are your repair and replacement timeframes? What is your group replacement schedule? What is the frequency of night patrols? Why is there no consistency in the bulb types in the same community and in the same street in some cases? And since we have numerous steel poles in Four Seasons, what is your painting schedule? As a resident of Beaumont, I'm not asking for special treatment, but I would appreciate the city giving the same level of streetlight service that we are now paying for. And I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Discussion?
Mayor,
Yes.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Jeff, could you, when I was going through this, actually, the speaker touched on this also, replacement. We talked about maintenance in the documentation that you gave us, but replacement. If there's a car that hits the street pole or something happens to it, what would be the replacement policy? Would we have to go through the HOA for approval of everything that was done to the pole, and how would you be free to do what you needed to do?
Yeah, so as part of this process and ensuring that everything was up to par, we are accepting these as city streetlights. So if they were hit by a car, then the city will be responsible to replace those. Obviously, if it was a vehicle accident, we would pursue, insurance of whomever caused that accident, but the city would be responsible to replace those light poles. And we would have the legal right to do so now that we've been granted access to do so.
And would we go through and do a consistency of lights and go through the whole community and make sure that everything was up to snuff and then have a regular cycle of going back?
Right, so we would. I mean, if there was an outlier that was vastly different from something within the same, proximity, there are several different types of lights in here, in different neighborhoods, different streets, there are different light types. So, there's there's 5 different light types that we've identified, everything from solar, LID to high-pressure sodium. So we would replace them in kind with what was there before and approved via previous improvement plans.
Let me just add something so council's aware. We have a street crew of 4 plus a supervisor. This is the same street crew that is taking care of all of your streets, all of your sidewalks, all street lights. So it's a fairly small crew that unfortunately may not get out to do the exact type of system that the citizens spoke to. So we may not be on some regular, we may be a little bit more reactive, then we're able to be proactive because we're out there doing potholes, cleaning drainage ditches with, again, a very, very small crew of 4 plus a supervisor.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Councilman.
So I need to understand this a little bit better. It says here that we are accepting the maintenance and repairs for the lights. We have not been doing that in the past?
I think there were times in we were unclear as to whom the responsibility was for, so that's what brought this to light, I believe, obviously, in August. And so since we've looked into it and this was, been more scrutinized, is we took a deeper dive and ensured that we do not have legal access to maintain those. And so in the past, at least since August when we brought this through, we have not been able to maintain them because we determined we did not have the legal right to do so, and it was not clear whom the responsibility lied with. I think that's kind of what led to us getting to this point in a formal request from the HOA.
So the reason I ask is, my understanding, the reason we're doing this is to make sure that we can do the kind of maintenance and repair that we need to do before. But from the speaker, it appeared like they had already expected the city was responsible for all of this before we're accepting this. So how does this change things?
I think this legitimizes and formally, allows the city the right and legal access to do so, and has been formally requested and conveyed to us. It was not succinctly clear prior to that.
So prior to that, when repairs were done on the system within 4 Seasons, who was liable for paying for that and making sure it got done? Was that the city or was that 4 Seasons?
If it was city-maintained light maintenance, it would have been on the city.
So there were some lights in there, or all the lights are, I'm just trying to understand.
They will be. I think there were times that the city did
I'm saying beforehand, because the comment that was made was that, why aren't we doing, I got the comment from the speaker as if we were not doing our job over the last few years, but my understanding with doing this was it really wasn't necessarily our job until we accept and have the legal rights. Am I misunderstanding something?
Yeah, and I can add a little bit to Mr. Hart, because he kind of stepped into this. This process was underway when he came on board, so I have a little bit more background. So in past years, the city had been responding to service calls to when lights went out or ballasts need to be replaced or things like that were required. In researching the issue, those lights still are, unless y'all take action tonight, are private infrastructure that belong to 4 Seasons. And it's a responsibility of 4 Seasons to be able to maintain those, not the city. So we should not have been out there maintaining. We didn't have the right to do it. We didn't have access to do it either, to access that infrastructure. We were doing it. We shouldn't have been. So my direction to staff was stop. We need to go through the process to appropriately assess and accept the infrastructure and to secure the access so that we could go out and begin to maintain the lights and respond to those service calls. And as Ms. Day had alluded to, we are a small crew and we've been operating on an on-call basis. So when a work order comes in, the crew responds to that as quickly as they can to address the repairs that are needed.
Okay, that clears it up. I just had understood it as we were accepting responsibility so that we could provide the better service. It wasn't a fact that we have been providing bad service and we're going to continue to provide bad service because now the city has responsibility for it. So obviously I'm in support of this. I just wanted to clarify exactly the difference now with us accepting these. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Martinez.
Okay, so has the city and the 4 Seasons HOA, have they both agreed that the 285 lights are the only lights that should be done. So we don't pop up in another year and say, oh, we missed some, or have any confusion. So are we confident that everyone agrees these are the lights that are on the map and accounted for, to the best that we know?
Yeah, so we have gone out and done an actual physical inspection and location, and the lights that we are agreeing to maintain are attached to your agenda packet in this exhibit.
And has HOA agreed upon that? Have you discussed and said, yes, we agree, those are them?
I don't know if those specific conversation has happened. They have passed a resolution allowing, us granting these to us in accordance with these. The exact number or which exact ones, I don't know.
But
if it was
they are
specifically stated.
outlined, so once.
Oh, yes,
So if
yes.
we approve it, we're gonna say, these are the ones
Yes.
that we're gonna cover, and if something's not on there, that's not what we're covering.
Yes, that's
Because I know the major here, the issue is the easement, trying to grant access to those so that we have, for the liability and so forth. According to the report, we have 30% that need to be done that is proposed to do in 2019, 2020 here. So it says anticipating 30% of the 285 lights, which I calculate around 85 lights. So is that how much that we know now that needs to be done, and then we're planning to go out and hit those?
Yeah, we've got an existing backlog, probably work orders of close to 50 of once we've been hit. We've been sorting this out. We would anticipate maybe another 30 or so by the time we get through the end of this fiscal year.
So, that's quite a bit. So how do we think we can handle that? Are we going to be able to reasonably address that, or? I just want to make sure the citizens know that we have this under control. We're going about it, but we've already mentioned that we're a little short-staffed, and that was just on call. We got a backlog now, so.
Right, and I think a lot of those calls are fairly, quick, as stated, and we will try to knock these out in blocks. We can chip away at the block, we can block out certain times to kind of maximize our efforts of being there, where we're not just going out and replacing one and coming back. So for the initial repairs that we have, we'll kind of go through our inventory, see what parts we need, and try and, go about those as efficiently as we can, effectively, and maybe there's a few days or a week or so that we spend just doing maintenance until we get caught up. I think the remainder 30, what we're projecting, maybe more on a on-call basis.
And the last question I have, can I clarify what it means by we're limited to the streetlight system costs only from the SEE pedestals, but is there other things that's using electricity from the pedestals that, because what I'm trying to say is we're only responsible for the city streetlight, how are we going to determine or segregate, what's going to that and what's
Right,
going
we
to
just
that?
want to ensure, obviously, that there's no other, where there's speed signs or other things that they would utilize electricity for in the right of way are not tapping into those same meter and pedestal, and that we are not taking the burden of paying that electricity.
So now that we have city-owned lights, are they going to have to ask permission to tap into that?
To tap into the electricity, yeah. And we'll have to obviously keep an eye on that as well as we're out there maintaining.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Just one real quick. So I know that there's parking lot light standards as well, which we are not going to maintain. Have we checked to verify that those are not tied to a pedestal that's in the easement that'll maintain street lights?
Yeah, so as we've gone through and done the inspection of those pedestals as well, as we went through to make sure that like the clubhouse and site lighting and things like that are not tied into the same common area street lighting.
When we've done that already?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for clarifying that.
Okay, very good.
Mayor, I have one more question.
Go ahead, Don.
Okay. We talked about this when this came before us before, but just to reiterate so that the rest of the community understands that we are not, if you could speak to the cost, who's paying the bill on this and how that's going on, as opposed to next having one of the other communities come and saying, well, you're taking care of Four Seasons, you now need to take care of ours, and we need to get that out again. We've had the conversation before.
Sure. We looked at these subdivisions, and we've identified that there's some existing balance of pay-go of CFD dollars that have been assessed within these subdivisions. So we, for example, in Four Seasons, we'll be setting aside $50,000 of that as part of a light maintenance budget. So as we get to the end of the year, every year, we go back to replenish that through the use of CFD funds, specifically to what's being created or being collected in that area.
So when we went around the city, or are still going around the city and reducing people's Melrose fees by removing or refunding some of the pay-go, using that to pay off the funds. You at the time suggested we can't do it all. We need to keep, I think our process or our policy was to keep about 50% of it for things like this. Okay. So this is being paid for by the Melrose fees of the people who live in Four Seasons?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Thank you.
Very good. Let's move on item number 13.
Do we need a
I
motion?
gotta vote on
Oh,
this.
sorry.
Mayor,
I mean, do a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the irrevocable offer of dedication of easement for street light maintenance and approve the certificate of acceptance of street light maintenance.
I'll second.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Councilmember Carroll,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara.
Yes.
Mayor Santos.
Yes. Okay, now move on item number 13. I thought you had done that, Jeff, so. Improvement and credit reimbursement agreement for transportation uniform mitigation fees between City of Beaumont and Party Homes for the Oak Valley Interchange project. Staff report, please.
Yeah, good evening once again. Yes, the item before you is a transportation uniform mitigation fee, a TUMP credit agreement with Party Homes for the final engineering of the Oak Valley interchange. Party has nearly 600 building permits remaining to be issued and is an agreement that a mutual benefit exists in entering into a credit agreement to fund the design of a new interchange at Oak Valley and Interstate 10. The maximum TUMP share, as identified by WR Cogs of Western Riverside County Government Nexus Study, 2000 Nexus Study, is $6.39 million. Upon approval of the credit agreement by City Council staff intends to draft an RFP for engineering services of the interchange. Staff recommends that the City Council approve the credit agreement between the City of Beaumont and Party Homes for the Oak Valley Interchange project and authorize the mayor to execute the agreement. I'm available for any questions you may have.
Mayor, I'd like to make a unusual request. Could I just take maybe a 4 or 5 minute break? I'd like to talk to Mr. Pinckney about something.
Okay.
Is that okay?
That would be fine? That would be fine.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a 5 minutes break.
Except the lights on your street, they approved of that.
Lights on my street?
Yeah, you're main in the
I don't
door.
have any lights.
Oh, you don't? Okay. Yes, you do. They just haven't repaired them.
Would you approve?
Yeah.
We got 40 light bulbs burned out. Is somebody gonna fix them?
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Get your ladder out.
Oh!
Yep.
Mayor, I'd like to make a comment before we move
We
on.
move on item, okay, we
Okay.
stay on item number 12. Go ahead,
So I, obviously, obviously, most people know I'm running for office. And as you run for office, you receive contributions, and sometimes those associations, organizations come before us with issues that may appear to be a conflict of interest. So I've spoken to the city attorney about this in the past and got the advice that I'd like him to share with you. And then after he shares the advice, or not the advice, but reads the code to you, then I'll let you know what I intend to do.
very good.
So the question is whether Councilmember White, sitting as an elected council member, has a conflict of interest when someone has something come before the council and they've made a campaign contribution to them. And so the applicable law is the Political Reform Act. And the Political Reform Act requires elected officials to recuse themselves in certain circumstances where they have a financial interest in the matter that's before the council. But they have exceptions to the rule that requires recusal when you have a financial interest in the matter before the council. And one of those exceptions is deals with campaign contributions made to elected officials. Interestingly, the law does require recusal of appointed officials who have received campaign contributions from someone that has a matter before their body, but elected officials are not required to recuse themselves. And in fact, the city attorney or the municipal law treatise or handbook provides that the restriction requiring recusal where someone has made a campaign contribution applies to an officer appointed to a board or commission. The restriction does not apply to city council members who are directly elected by the voters. And the Political Reform Act echoes that. So there's not a legal requirement that Councilmember White recuse himself.
Very good, that's a good,
So I wanted to bring this up, and I wanted to speak to to Mr. Pinckney one more time, because the campaign is in full mode right now, and a lot of heat, and a lot of people are looking for a lot of gotchas. And so I wanted to make sure it was on the record whether or not I do have to recuse myself, whether or not I have to recuse myself forever because I've received a campaign contribution from somebody. But in this case, because I have raised the issue to avoid any appearance of inappropriation before we started discussing this item, I am going to recuse myself tonight. But I am doing that mainly because I've raised the issue tonight. And as long as I continue to follow the rules and I don't financially benefit and as an elected official, but as Mr. Pinckney points out, if I'm appointed to a board like RCTC, it's a whole different story. If someone who has made a contribution to my campaign or to any of our campaigns, we should know that if it's more than $250, we have to recuse ourselves. So mainly to bring awareness to this, I wanted to have this conversation in public, and I will recuse myself tonight on this party issue.
okay. Thank you. Okay, let's move on item number 13. Improvement and credit reimbursement agreement for transportation uniform mitigation fees, which is known as TUMP, between the City of Beaumont and Party Homes for the Oak Valley Interchange Project. Stop report, please, Mr. Hart.
Yeah, so I think I touched on pretty much everything we had, but the item before us is just a credit agreement between the City of Beaumont and Party Homes. The maximum TUMP network share of this improvement in the 2016 Nexus is upwards of $6.39 million. Party is looking, they have about 600 building permits left. Each TUMP, as it sits today, is about, for each single unit, is about $9,100. So the the amount that they would generate is substantial. And so obviously recognizing a mutual benefit into entering into a credit agreement for the design of this interchange benefits all. So staff does recommend that the city council approve the credit agreement between the city of Beaumont and Party Homes for the Oak Valley Interchange project and authorize the mayor to execute the agreement.
Very good. Thank you. Public comment? Okay. Discussion? On the council?
Just a quick question.
Go ahead.
So is this solely for the design, or is this partially for design and partially for other projects for the 6,000,003?
No, this is solely, well, this would be for PNED, which is the project approval environmental, and the PS&E, which is a plan specifications, engineering, the design, as well as right-of-way.
But only for that one project?
Right, only for that project and not for construction.
Go ahead,
So,
Robin.
if they get the design done, do we have a tentative start date for construction? I know it doesn't include that, but my concern is that the design, we get the design done, the plans sit for 5 or 6 years because there's no funding, and then is design still adequate in 5 or 6 years, or 10 years, or?
Right, so we currently do not have a anticipated start time for that sole reason is we have not identified funding sources for that. You know, we are in a much better position to pursue funding opportunities once we have a complete design, which is a little counterintuitive, but it does put you in a much better position. But we currently do not, no.
So do we know how long the design is good for before, say, it expires?
Well, the environmental document's essentially good in perpetuity. So,
Right.
I mean, once we've got the approvals and we're shovel-ready, there may be some Caltrans updates to some of their standards that may happen if it sits long enough, but it would largely remain valid.
To sort of piggyback on that, shovel-ready, and that's the key phrase. If we don't have it shovel-ready, then pretty much we'll never get funding, correct? That's pretty much how it works. So we have to go this far, even though we don't know where the funding will come from, to make sure that it meets that level of being shovel-ready, correct? So that we can apply for the funding.
Right, and I don't know that I would say never the
Well,
opportunity prior
never.
to shovel-ready, but it puts you in a much better position to do so. So we would, you know, obviously early on be keeping our eye out and looking for funding sources. But as of now, they haven't determined, and yeah, it definitely puts you in a better spot once you are shovel-ready.
I will retract the never word, because that was too severe.
Okay, go ahead. You got one more.
So can you just explain to the public why we would use the Oak Valley Parkway and not maybe like Pennsylvania for this?
So the Pennsylvania improvements are, and I don't have it specific in front of me, I don't believe are listed as a TUMP network project. So Highland Springs is, which we've already got a current co-op with RCTC in the city of Banning, and actually they have a co-op with Caltrans. And then obviously we have Potrero, which we've essentially maximized that for the design as well. So the Oak Valley is the remaining eligible project.
So on Pennsylvania, there is the widening project, and we have used a very similar agreement to do that design of the widening.
All right. I just wanted to be on record of why we chose this and you know, so forth. Thank you.
Can I interject on that? I mean, on the party as a developer in there, I think they're you know, committed on or accepted this kind of agreement, you know, because they have a project of Tournament Hills and also Sundance on that, and that's my understanding on the contract what we have on this. That's why it's really for Oak Valley Parkway project. Is that correct? And then it really it says on the contract we have up to 10 million on a certain given design. Is that correct? I mean, you know, I was looking on that. I mean, there's a 10 million 200,000.
That's the total amount we're looking at
Total
agreements
amount,
that they would
yeah.
have, right, that they would be able to utilize this for, but the cap on this would be, for Oak Valley specifically, 6.39. The Pennsylvania widening that was alluded to was
Yeah.
about 3.2 $3,060,000.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Need a motion? Oh, go ahead. Steve.
Question. When we put in the lights on Oak Valley Parkway, we were told this is phase one of the, improving that interchange. And phase two was supposed to be, the new entrance and exit ramps, plus the widening of the bridge itself. Is this all of phase two that we're looking at here?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
And one thing too is, it's been recommended to us by Ann Mayer with RCTC that the city should use its local dollars to design projects and get them as shovel-ready as possible. And then that does mean that our projects have a better opportunity for funding if grants or other things come up. And then once we get them there to coordinate with RCTC, and they would help us identify some potential funding sources, or they would help us assist us in acquiring those funding sources. So that's part of the rationale behind trying to get as many of our projects as shovel-ready as we can, or as near shovel-ready as we can.
Very good. Very good. Anything else? So I need a motion.
Um,
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the improvement and credit reimbursement agreement between the City of Beaumont and Party Homes for the Oak Valley Interchange Project, and authorize the mayor to execute the agreement.
I'll second.
Councilmember White is recused.
Recused.
Okay. Councilmember Carroll,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara.
Yes.
Mayor Santos.
Yes. Okay. Can we, Okay. You join us. Item number 14, request for direction on preparing a shopping cart ordinance.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
It's a
Back in
biggie.
October, I had the pleasure of welcoming the Code Enforcement Department over to join Community Development. And since that time, we've been working on a whole bunch of things. One of the things that was brought to our attention early was the amount of time and resources that staff in both code enforcement and other departments spend on dealing with abandoned shopping carts within the city. So we began to discuss this and look into it, and Code Enforcement Officer Jack Huntsman prepared me a very detailed binder with lots of information about the shopping carts, both the issues we deal with here in the city and what other cities deal with and how they've dealt with it. And so before you tonight is a request for direction on preparing a shopping cart ordinance. As I have researched, As I've researched, we've found that staff currently spends about 2 to 3 hours a week picking up abandoned shopping carts, and we average about 5 to 10 carts a week. Those numbers do fluctuate depending on time of year. I know back in the fall, we were up to, 80-plus carts at one time in a very short period of time that staff had collected. Right now, I think we have somewhere between 15 and 20 that we've got stored over the last few weeks. We have some concerns that are generated as far as shopping carts go. A lot of times, shopping carts are abandoned. They're stripped of their identifiers. We can't really tell what stores they belong to, who they should go back to, how we need to deal with it. And so staff spends quite a bit of time trying to deal with them. It takes up space in the yard and, things like that. So we have prepared some options or some things that we can do to assist with addressing the shopping cart issue. But staff feels that the best way that we could probably do this is through creating a shopping cart ordinance. So I am requesting your direction at this point in time. If you would like staff to proceed in researching and bringing some information back to you about what that would look like, we're happy to do so.
Very good. Thank you, Christina.
No public comment.
Okay, discussion or comment? Go ahead, Doug.
The two things I like in here is number 4, the requirement for the retrieval plan. I like that idea, and I like the 30-day notice to give them, assuming you know who the owner is. What happens when you don't know who the owner is?
So that's a good question. A lot of times they just sit. And staff does have some resources, people that will come and pick up the shopping carts, but we've got to call them and track them down and have, kind of on their time, have them come and pick them up. Some of the stores have contracted with cart retrieval services just independently, but not every store has that. So the cart retrieval program would essentially standardize it across the board for all retailers that have shopping carts.
The model that Aldi uses, is that where you get your money back if you return the cart? Is that something that we can find a way to encourage? I don't know. It's very unique that they do it that way, but do they have the same kind of problem that the other stores do?
So I don't know, and I guess I'd have to ask the officers if they pick up very many Aldi carts in relationship to other ones. From what I've heard, just generally speaking, Aldi does not because of that quarter system. I don't know that there's a way we could enforce that, or maybe we could incentivize somehow, but that's something that I could work on and bring back if
Yeah, I
that's the
wouldn't want to
direction.
enforce it. I would want to, encourage it if there was a way to do that, because I know that, if a kid's out there and sees 4 shopping carts and takes them in, gets a quick buck. So anyways, I just wanted to see how that impacts this idea.
Sure, we're happy to look into that.
Thanks.
When I was reading through this, first of all, the list, we need to fix this. We don't need to be spending staff time on this, as you have already told us. But I almost wanted to say yes to every single one of your suggestions. The difficulty with that is, I'm sure that some of this, or what I've read in your suggestions, we can do going forward with an ordinance. But what do we do about going backwards with all the shopping carts that are already there, that don't have wheels that will lock, that don't have acknowledgement on them of who they belong to, that, all of the sort of legacy problems that are going to be there. So unfortunately, even with an ordinance, it's going to take us a while to climb out of this. And I don't know that we can affect too much more of, except for making it the best possible solution going forward. But I do want to know, do you find these carts in a particular area most commonly? Is there like a problem area where everybody seems to be going back to?
I don't know that that's the case. We obviously have shopping, areas more prevalent in one part of town than others, but they find them all throughout town. So I would say during the holiday season, I think you do find some, and maybe from neighboring jurisdiction or, whatnot, that have migrated over here and things like that. But I think it is pretty well across the board throughout town that we find them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess I would say, too, we could add to the list that they have to have a cart retrieval system or a vendor that retrieves the carts if they haven't sort of answered the question by having locking carts, or in other words, nobody should be able to skate by with nothing. So, and I don't know how you could reinforce that with the vendors that sell and have the shopping carts that don't have it in place, but it would be nice to know who doesn't have it in place, and maybe we could just reach out and encourage them that we have this program going forward. The city council has addressed that it's a problem, et cetera, and see if we can get those other vendors who are kind of skating through to get somebody to pick up their carts so the burden's not on the city. Thank you.
Great idea. I'm all for it, and I like the ideas that you have. Do we have any, and I know that you're just starting to look into this, so do we have any idea of what these carts are worth if we were to sell them, or can they be recycled, or?
I have not looked into that at all. So first point is this, and Councilmember Carroll brought up a good point about looking retroactively. What do we do with what we have if we can't get rid of it? And so after this discussion, if direction's given, I'll look to incorporate that into what I bring back to you and hopefully have some information for you about, here's what we have, here's what we think we can do with it, and address the existing issue while we move forward addressing future.
Yeah, and if you could just look into, as Councilmember Carroll mentioned, look into maybe what we could do retroactively. Maybe Mr. Pinckney would have some suggestions with that. But I think that's a great idea. It's a good job. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, good. Okay, on my side, I got a lot of, experience on this. I mean, what we do in back then in Redlands, Loma Linda, Rancho Camunga, Fontana, is, you're right. I mean, there's a vendor in there to do the, they collect those, and they know that every cart is worth 150 to answer that. I mean, to $200, and now maybe higher. To motivate them, what the some of the cities what they do is to collect them not 30 days. They give only 10 to 15 days to collect them. And then we have to notify them and tell them that, if we don't, we'll just scrap it. Because we don't want to be liable for throwing away and everything. They come back to us. That would be nice to have a communication with these, these retailers and everything, that this is our policy. And I think that's why if you look on those cities, they don't have, scattered, carts. That's my experience on that. It's just like, every council in here, they're really right on that retrieval. Thank you. Okay.
So
any specific
direction would be to
direction?
move forward, bring something back?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on. Item number 15, provide direction to staff on establishing a temporary memorandum prohibiting tire sales and tire repairs establishment. Thank you,
evening.
Carolyn.
Good evening, Council, Chairman, and Council. As you know, the city's in the process of updating their general plan. As part of that process, we'll be updating the goals and policies, and also the downtown-specific plan and zoning consistency analysis as part of that. Staff has determined that some of the uses do not support the intent of the current goals and policies and may conflict with potential land use changes as part of the process. And currently, the zoning code does not list automobile tire sales or tire repair as a separate use. It's included as part of the definitions in vehicle repair garage or vehicle service. So in the past, the city has been allowing tire sales and tire repair under the vehicle repair or service category under the permitted land uses. Staff has received a numerous amount of requests for these uses and has concerns that existing uses do generate noise impacts, aesthetic concerns. There's fire safety issues that need to be analyzed, and there's ongoing or frequent outdoor displays or storage of tires. There is a overconcentration of tire sales and tire repair businesses within the city. Approximately, staff found 12 businesses, 8 which are located in the downtown. As part of the downtown-specific plan, the plan would break down the downtown area into 8 different categories. Tire sales will only be allowed in one of those areas, and currently there are 4 tire sales operations that are existing in that area. The other 4 that are in the downtown would not be allowed as part of the draft downtown-specific plan if it's adopted by the city council. So at this time, staff would like to request direction if you would, if for staff to establish a moratorium on prohibiting tire sales and tire repair establishments until the general plan update is completed and the downtown-specific plan is adopted, to where we can adopt development standards and operational standards for these types of uses that include more analysis of noise impacts, more fire safety analysis, potentially conditional use permits so that we can place more conditions on the projects to make sure that they conform with our general plan policies, downtown specific plan, and zoning code. So this concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any public comment? Okay, any discussions? Let's do, if not, go ahead.
So, I like the idea. I didn't realize we had that many repair tire sales and installation businesses. On any of these existing tire businesses, have we required any type of acoustical studies before when they did the tenant improvement or anything like that? Or is it something that's new?
So planning wouldn't require that. That would typically be done through the building department, so I don't know if.
No? Okay. Going through the community development goals, I know that we've pulled the community development element policies. I have a question requesting maybe a better definitions of commercial retail centers as opposed to strip commercial. I'm not clear on what what you would use to differentiate the two.
So in our zoning code, the definitions, there's not a definition that differentiates between that. We do have a definition on commercial complexes, which is a group of 3 or more businesses. However, there are surrounding jurisdictions that have certain categories, square footage size, and if there's anchor tenants. So for a convenience or strip store, that would typically have no anchor and less than 30,000 square feet with parking located in front of the store. Neighborhood centers between 30,000 to 100,000 square feet and possibly 1 anchor. And then shopping centers typically have greater than 100,000 square feet and 2 anchors, and then regional malls. So our code doesn't have that definition. If it's something that the council would like us to clarify in a code update, we can certainly look at addressing that.
I think if we could do that or get that clarification, either in our general plan as it ties to the community development element policy, only so that when somebody goes to look into that, they have a better understanding of what it is that they're talking about when they start to plan for their commercial or retail center. If we could, I mean, if council is in agreement with that. And then when you talk about, the next item would be policy 15 or the community development policy 15. What is it that's meant by industrial activities?
So the general plan doesn't really describe industrial activities. It talks about industrial land use, but when we go to the zoning code, which is our manufacturing, which it acts as our industrial, it's to maintain existing industrial and manufacturing uses and promote new business parks, light industrial manufacturing uses, and warehouse activities. So I believe the intent would be if you direct staff to prepare the moratorium, as part of the code update, we'd be looking at potentially in industrial areas allowing these types of uses as permitted, but maybe in the commercial it would be a conditional use permit. So again, we can apply more of the operational standard requirements on that.
Okay, so us giving you direction to move forward with this, we could better define what we're talking about then. Right?
Correct.
Give us that
And
opportunity. And would that be then at that time, the opportunity to say, you know what, when we do these, approve these tire repairs, we'd like the repairs to occur indoors rather than out in parking lots or parking spaces, and then, you know, have enclosed tire storage locations rather than outside in the front of the building or off to the right or whatever that is? Is that would
That's
give us that
correct.
opportunity to do that, correct?
Correct. So if it required the conditional use permit, we can place operational conditions
Okay.
on that.
All right, well, those are some of the ideas or suggestions I have, so thank you for that. That's all I have, Mayor.
I'm a big fan of going the direction of the conditional use permit potentially, because I agree with Councilmember Laura that some of the suggestions he made are really good, like doing a more cosmetically covered storage area for the tires rather than leaving them out in the open, having them pile up. It's a fire safety issue when they pile up. It's an environmental issue because there's a lot of petroleum that's on those, excuse me, used tires. So I think that we need to amp it up, so to speak, on what it is that we hope that they do when they run the business, because we're also trying to diversify and get more cafes and small retail shops and things like that. And if we allow them to operate in a unattractive manner, nobody's going to want to open their little investment in a cafe or a boutique down the street from too many tire shops that we don't do our job of making sure that they look appropriate for where we want the community to go. And so I definitely agree with much of what Councilmember Laura said, and I encourage you to see what you can do in terms of both the building codes and also conditional use permit to see what we can do to do a better job of meeting the direction of the economic plan, as well as allowing them to operate and make money and do what they need to do to support their families. So thank you.
Thank you.
So I know that a lot of us, or I hear from people, that we have too many tire stores, we have too many, I don't know who I can offend now, we have too many dollar stores, we need Costco, we need auto dealerships, we need Trader Joe's, and I understand that, but I think what's driving, I think what I like to see driving business in Beaumont is that, if there's a market for more tire stores, it always amazes me that we still have more market. We have so many new tire stores, but I don't think these businesses, especially the large chains, are going to come in here if there isn't a market for it. So I get a little bit hesitant when we start talking about a moratorium. So I want to drill into this a little bit more, because you do mention the downtown general, or the downtown specific plan and the general plan. Are we talking about a citywide moratorium that would not accept any more tire stores until the moratorium was over?
That's correct.
So it's not specific to the areas that you point out are troubled areas?
That's correct. It would be citywide.
And currently, our current conditional use permitting process does not allow us to address some of the issues that we brought up here. Is that correct?
Well, so the zoning code doesn't specifically list these uses, tire sales as an independent use. So it's under the vehicle repair, and that's permitted in commercial and manufacturing zones. So it doesn't allow us to.
I guess what I'm asking is, so we have zones where they're allowed, so we can't disallow them unless we do a moratorium. But does our conditional permitting usage allow us the ability to control the sound, the noise pollution, and other issues that come with these stores that we're mentioning are too many in the downtown area?
Yes, it would allow us to place conditions on the project.
That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking you, do we have the ability to place those conditions on the property now?
No, if they're permitted by right,
Okay.
they would just go through the administrative plot plan process, and the conditions are minor in nature. So the conditional use permit process provides us ability to condition the project more and analyze it more. It's just a more.
Okay, and is the general plan going to limit the number of these types, and I say types, I mean, what was the one we addressed before was the massage, those types of businesses. Does the general plan have in it that you can't have so many tire stores in one area of the town?
No, so the general plan is just going to go, it just addresses land uses and different elements. The downtown specific plan is really going to address the tire sales in the downtown area, and then as.
And how is it going to address that? Is it going to say that you can't have more than 4, or is it going to say that you can put all these rules in how to do it?
No, it's not going to address that. So
Okay.
but it's going to have updated goals and policies. So again, we could tie that into conditions of approval that are placed on the project if it's
Okay.
going through the.
Okay.
I can maybe add a little more clarity to that as well. So the downtown specific plan, which I know it's been a while since you guys have seen it, breaks the downtown area down into sections. So from 6th Street, where you would get off in the city, on the freeway, all the way down to Highland Springs, there's going to be different areas, and each area is broken up into sort of a focus type use. So on the west end of town, it'll be more of, your shops and restaurants and boutiques, and there are some specific uses that we would like to attract into those areas, and there are some specific uses that we would not necessarily want in those areas that are designed to be more pedestrian friendly and attract people to the downtown and be able to walk and go, shop or eat or do what you want to do. The further east you move towards Highland Springs, where it tends to be a little more commercial already, those are the areas where you would see then a wider variety of permitted uses or conditionally permitted uses. So it will be part of the area, like Carol mentioned in the staff report, where those, tire sales and similar uses to that may not be permitted, but in other areas of the downtown, further towards the east, they may be permitted or conditionally permitted. So,
But in areas like you're talking about where they will be permitted, and we'll take a area, east on 6th Street near Highland Springs.
Sure.
If that area is permitted for tire stores, and we have 4 different chains or 4 different tire stores that want to come in to that area, and that's permitted, we're not in a position to say, we've already got 3, you can't have a 4th one?
No, we would not do that. There will be development standards incorporated into the downtown specific plan. Those would be different. Like right now, our zoning code doesn't really have development standards that allow us to address any of these issues. The downtown specific plan in particular will have development standards. Some of them may be based on size of the building that's required for a certain type of use. Some may have aesthetic standards and things like that. So we will be able to address the issues, but no, we will not at any point cap any number of use that would be allowed to occur in the downtown.
So from what I'm getting from what you're saying right now is that the general plan in itself does not give us those standards. So once the general plan is approved, which is when?
Late spring-ish.
This
year, yeah.
Okay.
It's
late
the
spring
new,
of this year, and then the process to put it to bring back to council planning, whoever does it, as far as the standards and conditions, we don't start that till after the general plan is completed?
No, so the downtown specific plan and the general plan should come to you together. That's the intent of staff and of the consultant. So you will see the general plan, you'll see the downtown specific plan, and the general plan won't necessarily have development standards because it's your big 50,000 foot level view. The downtown specific plan, you'll see a comprehensive document that has the areas of the downtown, development standards, permitted uses or conditionally permitted uses, and all the things that go along with that.
So how long do you envision a moratorium in place?
I would think until we have those documents in place, and then we would bring it back. If you guys adopt and everything's good with what you want to see, then we can go through whatever process to lift the moratorium.
So more than a year or 2 years, or that's what I'm trying to get at.
So the moratorium, so the first one is for 45 days. The second one would be 10 months and 15 days. And then if we needed to extend it again, it would be another year. So it's a max of 2 years.
Okay, and I understand that because we went through that process with the other one, and
Right.
it was just, 45-day moratorium, that's okay, we can do that. But then the next step is the 10-month moratorium. And I just, like I said, if there's a market here for these businesses, I hate to lock them out of the entire city because we're concerned about the downtown general area.
Understood.
So that's my thought on whatever you bring back to us.
Sure thing.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to comment. So basically, it's a freeze until you get everything on paper and it's kind of planned and sorted the way you want. Mike, maybe you said it and I missed it. So for those that are doing vehicle repair, those are not affected?
That's not proposed.
Okay, and if they're vehicle repair, like a Goodyear that does repair and a tire and sales, they would be restricted? Did I
So
read
if
it
it's ancillary to their use, that wouldn't be restricted, but if it's primarily tire sales or tire repair.
wrong? Okay, that's what I need to know. Thank you.
And if they're currently operating, they're allowed to continue operating. So it's not going to impede anybody that's currently
No,
legally
but-
operating. It just won't be allowing any new.
But there are other chains out there that might come in that could compete with the ones we have that
Yes.
have a large-scale vehicle repair but do tires and also.
Correct.
And I just didn't know if this was going to impede them from coming in. So it wouldn't then, because it was ancillary to their
Correct.
main. Okay.
Yeah, that answers that. I mean, there'll be the people that, or the business that's coming in will be the restricted or moratorium for that for 45 days or 10 months or on that side?
The first moratorium is for 45 days.
45 days.
The second, if the council so chooses, would be 10 months and 15 days.
Okay, okay.
Is that only 10 months and 15 days? You can't do 6 months or 8 months or? Tough question, I know.
I don't know. Can we lift the moratorium at any time?
I'd have to look at the statute to see if it says, it's a specific statute, whether it says up to.
Okay, all right, thank you.
One last comment.
Go ahead.
Sorry about this. On the safety goals, I would look, the ones that are addressing the noise, I would look to see if there's any way to tie in our noise ordinance to that as well. Thank you.
Okay, I mean, so we could do the temporary moratorium prohibiting tire sales. And we have to be specific on that, 45 days or 10 months. Is that, you're okay on that?
First one is 45 days.
45 days, the
It's
first
going to
one?
come back to you at 45 days regardless,
Okay.
because that's what we have, that's what we're required to do. So your direction tonight, if you so choose, would be to
Yeah,
have us bring back a moratorium. First one would be 45 days. At the end of that time, we'd be back before you requesting an additional 10-month and 15 days.
very good. Thank you.
I'm good with that.
We got-
Are we good?
Okay, we're good. Okay. Item number 16, opposition letter. Sunline Transit Agency proposed commuter link Route 10. Ms. Gibbs first.
Thank you, Mayor. So this item before you is a draft opposition letter addressed to the Sunline Transit Agency referencing their proposed commuter link Route 10. In November, Sunline announced at the monthly Transportation Now Committee meeting that they intended to make changes to their current commuter link 220, which provides service from Palm Desert down to the Riverside Metrolink station with a stop in Beaumont. Excuse me, the following week, a community meeting was held here at the Civic Center, and they actually showed a draft map. And that route, instead of going to Riverside, potentially went to Cal State University San Bernardino's main campus in San Bernardino and included a stop at the Beaumont Walmart. Sunline presented their proposal in two ways. The current service had 3 eastbound and 3 westbounds from the Coachella Valley to Riverside, and their proposed service has 4 eastbound, 4 eastbound and 4 westbound from Coachella to San Bernardino, and they specifically want to target Cal State students. Moving forward in January, Sunline staff emailed us a letter a support letter for a grant that they were applying for that had to do with a solar microgrid to hydrogen transit project. And in that letter, they also introduced Commuter Link Route 10. They had officially given it a number. And that was bus service from Indio to San Bernardino with a stop at the Beaumont Walmart and then the San Bernardino Transit Center. And when we looked at it, it occurred to us that it actually mirrored our Commuter Link 120. The following day, I received a phone call from Riverside County Transportation Commission staff asking if we had received the letter from Sunline and what I thought about it. At that time, I did notate to RCTC that we would oppose this new route. It's a duplication of service. It violates the TDA. And I clearly asked them, do you intend to fund this route? And they could not give me an answer. They said they needed more information on it. We did receive a call from a consultant hired by Sunline after my conversation with RCTC. He is a former employee of RTA. He retired from RTA and now he's working as a consultant. And he provided us a PowerPoint presentation. The PowerPoint presentation had some objectives listed in it. It's included in your staff report. But the two key elements that we focused in on was, number one, the connectivity. According to Sunline, their intent is to connect residents of Coachella Valley to Pass Transit, Beaumont and Banning Transit, and RTA, Riverside Transit Agency, and other key destinations. And their second objective, there were 5, but the second one that we keyed in on was the Cal State University San Bernardino University Pass program, which is basically like the Go Pass. It's a free service to current registered students. They can ride free on the route. Students and faculty, and they're allowed to use all Sunline fixed route services at no cost with a valid ID. I did reach out to Sunline, the Sunline consultant, and ask for clarification on that in an email, and he did say that that particular free pass program would be valid on this new Commuter Link Route 10. We sat down and analyzed objective number 1. We created a matrix. If you look in your staff report, going back to the connectivity objective, clearly it says to connect residents of Coachella Valley to Pass Transit and RTA. And in the analysis, it shows there's no connectivity to the 125, which is the commuter link that goes to Redlands, Kaiser, and the Loma Linda VA. The other route that it would connect to, or in theory would connect to, is the 120. And when we looked at that, there's only one possibility to connect to the 120, and that's at 7:25 a.m. There is no other connectivity to the Beaumont routes. There is connection to the RTA 31 going to Moreno Valley. However, there's no connection to the 31 going to San Jacinto and Hemet. So this truly does limit their goal of connecting at Beaumont Walmart to these various routes. If you look at eastbound, again, there's connectivity to RTA 31 going to Moreno Valley. Very little going to San Jacinto and Hemet, and only twice, once in the morning and once in the evening, to the Beaumont 120. The reason we didn't include the 125 in the eastbound analysis is because passengers are not going to get on Sunline's Route 10, come to Beaumont Walmart, and turn around and get on the 125 and go back to Redlands. And so we left that out of the analysis. We did only include the possible connections within a 30-minute window. We believe that after 30 minutes, that truly isn't a connection. It could be 52 minutes. We didn't look at that. So anything 30 minutes or less is what we looked at. The other thing that should be noted is RTA's stop for the 31 is across the street from Walmart. That is eastbound. If you look at the passenger connections from the from Sunline to RTA 31, passengers have anywhere from 1 to 3 minutes to make that connection, which is physically impossible if they have to cross the street to get to the other side of the street to get off of Sunline. The Commuter Link 120 has 12 service loops, the 125 has 7, and RTA's has 16. And so if you go back to the matrix that we created, there really isn't connectivity. So the objective number 2 analysis included the Hall Pass program that I mentioned before, where students and faculty can ride free if they are registered with Cal State San Bernardino. That program is similar to our Beaumont Free Fare that we had last spring. It's being subsidized by the Low Carbon Transit Operations Program, so they're able to offer this free service. Beaumont Commuter Links charge $3.50 one way for students of Cal State University San Bernardino. We don't have that grant and we don't have the funding in place to offer free rides. This would directly affect our route. If a passenger had the choice of riding free, going to the transit center, and all they have to do is go to the university first, they're going to take that free ride. They're not going to get on the Commuter Link 120, pay $3.50 just to get there 10 or 15 minutes faster. Free is always better. So in summary, Sunline's Commuter Link Route 10, as proposed, is a duplication of service, and it will not connect Coachella Valley passengers with Beaumont Transit. The TDA clearly states the establishment of new routes outside the boundaries of an included municipal operator, as defined in this section, shall not be permitted where the operation or establishment of such routes will compete with or divert patronage from a route of the transit district as of the date the transit district is given the notice hereinafter required. And then it also goes on to say that the transit district may operate or establish new routes or extend existing routes in all or part of the area, except where the operation or establishment of that service will compete with or divert patronage from an existing service, and it goes on. Offering free rides and mirroring our route is going to directly affect one of our more popular routes right now, and our fare box will suffer. Sunline has not provided sufficient data to warrant any support of a stop in Beaumont, and therefore strong opposition of this route is necessary. However, should Sunline redesign the route and bypass Beaumont, we would certainly recommend to City Council that you support that route in the interest of regional transportation.
Can you say that last sentence again, please?
If Sunline redesigns the proposed Route 10 and they bypass Beaumont and they don't stop at the Beaumont Walmart, then we would recommend to City Council that they support this new route because it is regional transportation.
Got it.
That's all I have.
Oh. Any public comment? No? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I spoke with Executive Director Larry Rubio about this on multiple occasions since we found out that Sunline had this proposed. And he has assured me that he feels it would erode our public transportation in the past. He recommended that we not roll over and just allow this to happen. And he said he's behind us 100% on this. So I agree with everything that you've so far brought to our attention. The other thing that I would like to add to what you brought up is I looked into the grant for transporting the college students when I first heard about this. And the initial request of the grant for Sunline was to just transport the college students to the Palm Desert campus. It never mentioned to go out of the desert area with the initial application of the grant. So this is either something that they didn't want to surface or something where they looked at a way to expand their services in a more lucrative and easy way, since we've already sort of established public ridership now on this particular route. So I do feel that it doesn't even match what the initial plan was for the grant. I would recommend that if the council does want this letter to go out, and I do think we need to take a strong position on this, I would recommend that we do a CC list that covers a lot of other people that need to be aware of this, because it needs to go wide. And I was at the T Now meeting where it was announced. There had been not even a whisper that this was going to happen, and they announced the public meeting that was going to follow right after that in the city of Beaumont, and nobody attended that. And so this is basically just rolling along at a very fast speed unless we step in and do what we can to protect ridership in the pass. And I agree with you on what you said about the regional aspect. If it ends up to be a regional route, then it certainly should happen, because it's about getting people where they need to go. However, I did also have a discussion with Executive Director Rubio about the need to keep a sense of community and ridership that addresses the need of the pass area. And if we erode our routes financially, then transit in the pass area, transit in Beaumont, will eventually disappear if we can't meet our fare bucks, and will have to be taken on by RTA. And if we're taken on by RTA, we lose the ability to respond as much to the needs of the community. So I really think that this is something we legitimately need to stand up for, and we need to do it quickly. Thank you.
First off, I want to tell you it was a very complete presentation. I had no questions until Councilmember Carroll spoke. First, let me make a comment. Sunline, in my opinion, from what I've seen at RCTC, is a very poorly managed operation. They consistently come back to RCTC for adjustments and amendments to their budget because they didn't plan properly. So one quick question is, will this go to RCTC for approval at any point, or is it just something that's done by RTA and Sunline?
The route or the letter?
The route.
The route?
Yeah.
It's my understanding that RCTC is in communication with Sunline. They have not answered if they're going to fund it.
I guess what I'm asking is, will the RCTC, will the commission be voting on whether or not to approve this?
That I don't know. That's
Okay.
that's a RCTC staff
And
decision.
then does Sunline go way out of their area? Is this the farthest they're going to go out of their normal regional assigned area?
As far as I know, yeah.
Okay.
This is quite a long way for them.
Okay. So I do support the letter, and might I say, Mayor, it was very well written. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just add one detail I forgot? Executive Director Rubio said that, acknowledged that we could refuse to allow them to stop in Beaumont to pick up passengers. So I'm not saying that we need to do that out of the, but he said it was legitimately within our set of tools to do that if we needed to.
Can we add that to our, I'm sorry. I mean, would it be okay to add that to our letter of opposition?
Sure, absolutely.
I mean, I would support that, and I also like Councilmember Carroll's idea of putting together a good, strong CC list as well. I know that there are several places that we can, or several agencies that we could CC.
CTC and CalSTA and...
CalSTA, yeah, CTC. I agree, I mean, and I support that.
Very good.
Just a couple comments. So, I noticed it was going to be stopping at the San Bernardino Transit Center. Is that MetroLink around in there, or?
Yes.
Yeah, so they probably have some concerns, I would assume, as well, about
Yes.
duplicated routes?
The proposed stop is on Rialto Avenue. They have to get permission from Omni to actually pull in, which we have. We have our own bus bay. I did have a conversation with a planner at Omni, and he was not aware that they intended to stop on Rialto Avenue. In fact, his exact words were, "There is no room."
All right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, I did definitely strongly support this opposition letter. My question, when I read it, was just that one comment about RCTC funding it, which I thought was kind of odd. I didn't know where their role was in this, and I was going to ask Councilmember White about that, but it seems to be that we're not really sure where they stand on this. I don't know what the function is between RCTC and RTA on this. Oh, I know RTA's position, but RCTC as well. So could you let us know if you hear anything through the grapevine for sure?
Absolutely.
To see, because that's, you know, I'm just a little bit upset, so. Thank you.
Mayor, I move to approve authorizing the letter, even though you're going to have to rewrite it.
I'll second that.
A second, okay.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Councilmember Carroll,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara.
Just a clarification, are we going to add the
Yes,
item
yes.
about the stops?
I have it,
Okay.
yeah.
Yes,
I'll add
then-
a section and give it to Christine.
Okay, thank you. Yes?
Yeah,
Okay, Mayor Santos.
yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 17, authorize the city manager to execute additional reimbursable letters of agreement with the California Highway Patrol not to exceed $50,000 for the CR 60 Potrero Boulevard Interchange Phase 1 project for services associated with traffic control. Mr. Jeff.
Mayor, if there's no objection, I would be willing to make a motion on this.
No objection here.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Councilmember Carroll,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara.
Yes.
Mayor Santos.
Yes. Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Hart.
You worked too hard today.
And now you can give your report, right?
Item number 18,
You wanna do that?
wastewater treatment plant
Would you like to
expansion,
do that on this one as well?
renovation, and
I'm sure I might-
pipeline installation project.
I might not get the
Status
without
update.
objection on
This
No, I
day.
don't think you-
I will make this very short. I have two very good pieces of news for you, one on the brine line and then one on the plant to draw to your attention within the report. On the brine line, I received word yesterday that we received our very last permit, which allows us the full connection of the line. That was the 408 permit from Army Corps, and then subsequently the flood control district's permit. That's for our last connection that goes under the Santa Ana River. And so with that, all of our construction can finish, and you'll have your full 23 miles. We are in the process of working with SAPA on our final permitting. We would expect that that permit hopefully will be in place by May 1st, which would allow discharge into the brine line at that time. The second piece is the most important part of the treatment plant, which is we expect Phase 1 to be complete in May of 2020. That is this year, light at the end of that tunnel. That is bringing online the MBR system as well as the RO system, which also brings you to Title 22 water and then discharge into the brine line. So good news is May-ish, end of May, beginning of June, you will be in full compliance with the Regional Water Quality Board. And then we will be off and running for Phase 2, which were elected things that we did as part of the treatment plant project. So hopefully you will not have to hear from me too much longer on this item. And I won't have to do this. All of your accounting is in the report.
There you go.
Apparently she does not want me to stop. But very excited to be able to give that news to you. We will keep you abreast of that timeline moving forward, but again, we believe will be to this substantial completion of Phase 1 brine line as well as Phase 1 of the plant, end of May, beginning of June.
Very good. Excellent job. Thank you. Exciting. Yes.
Very exciting.
I just want to say that when we approved this, 3 years ago? 3 years ago? It seemed almost impossible to get it done by the middle of 2020. So I do want to commend you and staff on getting this accomplished because I thought we were going to need a couple more years after that. So good job. Thank you.
Good job. Yeah. Any other comments?
Happy.
Very happy. Okay, thank you so much. Legislative, Kyle, updates.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you tonight's the January monthly report for the 2020 legislative session. They have started, obviously, and we are now past the deadline in which 2019 legislation that didn't pass in 2019 would come back. They had until the 31st of January to pass those bills out of the House of Origin. So we know which ones are going to be moving forward and which ones are essentially dead and would need to be reintroduced next session. And then also a key timeline is that of February 21st, so that this month, is when 2020 bills need to be considered. So they can introduce new bills until the 21st of this month. Sacramento's also looking into the governor's January budget proposal, which we talked about at the last meeting. Staff anticipates seeing some of the administration's trailer bills, which to me are kind of the most impactful over the different years that I've been doing this. Is a lot of times the trailer bills sometimes have a little bit more impact than the actual budget itself. So those are going to be introduced, and we'll go ahead and dive through those and analyze the potential impacts. Senate Bill 50 update was included in the report. I want to provide you with the latest and greatest update. So this was drafted after the first vote, but before the second vote. They had 2 votes, 2 consecutive days, because the bill did not garner enough support the first vote. So they granted Senator Wiener an additional vote the next day. So that one went exactly the same as the first one, and the bill did not pass out of the Senate. In addition,
Is it dead?
It's dead for now.
Until it comes back on. Another
But that's a
dead-
great
dead.
segue into my next point, which is that when the bill failed the first time in January, which was on the 6th, Senator Wiener did propose 2 other bills, Senate Bill 899 and Senate Bill 902. Those are commonly referred to as spot bills. And what that means is that they introduce these bills that are related to housing that do not have a lot of details or substance to them, and they pass out of the House of Origin. And then later on, they gut and amend those bills, and then larger impacts become present at that point in time. So while Senate Bill 50 died, we're going to be taking a good look at how those 2 bills I alluded to morph in the near future. So once we get an idea about those, as well as the other ones that are being proposed in February, when those become available, staff's going to bring back those for review, as well as council stances on any of those. I'm not going to go into the budget proposal because we did that last time. And then lastly, let's see here. There's a push in Washington, D.C., amongst other things, but there's a push on the appropriation bills for the 2020 budget. So the House Democrats do have a goal on sending a decent amount of those through before the June deadline. And obviously tonight's the State of the Union, so we'll go ahead and get an update on kind of what transpires during that presidential address and what impacts. And then the other thing of substance that happened in January is just that the House passed the PFAS Action Act, and please forgive me, I'm not going to try to pronunciate what PFAS is because you'll all laugh at my horrible pronunciation of that. But really the root of that is to get to contamination of drinking water and defining certain chemicals as hazardous substances and how we go about requiring or regulating those materials out of drinking water throughout the nation. And then lastly, there's a little bit of a summary of different federal grant opportunities that staff is exploring. And if we find some of those grant opportunities that kind of fit the different programs or projects that the city's exploring, we'll go ahead and look at those and then bring those back for council discussion and or action. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Very good. Questions? Okay. Councilors' reports. Who wants to be first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I attended the Vet Expo on Saturday. It was the best ever. Anita does a superb job. Once she has you in her clutches, she never lets go.
Amen. Amen.
So, but she does a great job. And I have to say, the staff, it went so smoothly. It's the smoothest ever. Everything, every resource, everything was done beautifully, all the way up to the city manager, Ashley, organizing the room. It was really, it was great support from the city. So I was really proud of what the city did to support that. And I have to tell you, this one, there was a buzz in the room. I mean, we've had people there before, but there was this feeling of optimism about all the vendors who were there. There was a real buzz in the room. And of course, it's always great that we get the congressman to come out and to share what he does for the veterans with the community. And it really is geared towards more than just the vets, but the whole community of veterans, which means their families and their friends, and getting the resources they need. So it's just really a great event. And, you know, it's nice to say, too, that we hardly have enough room to contain it. It's a lot better than saying there's too much room. So that was terrific. And tomorrow I have an RTA meeting, so I will do more discussing and hopefully have more information for the council as we move forward on this. And that's, I will be going to the Women's Club this week. They are beginning to reach out to the city to see if they can do a project with the city to support the city and its beautification efforts. So I will also make sure that we keep that communication link open. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Lord?
Attended WRCOG on Monday. They're coming back around and offering to do they remember they had approached council some time ago regarding the energy partnership, that where you could had an option for electrical power. It's coming back around again, and they are offering the presentation again if we so desire. I just wanted to bring that to council's attention. The Vet Expo, it really is great to see, and not only that, but just the staff taking the interest that they take in it to make sure that each one goes smoothly as possible. And also, I had the opportunity to judge the Brookside Elementary 2020 Talent Show. It was an enjoyable evening, and that was a lot of fun. And just a shout out to all the participants in that talent show. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Martinez?
So I attended the League of Cities Environmental Quality Committee. I'll have a report at our next meeting for that. Attended the chamber dinner. It was a great turnout. Mr. Lara, Mayor Santos, and Mr. White were there. And good job for Betty Rader and Susan Martinez for for a great job for the chamber. It really came out well, and congrats to the Citizens of the Year. Vet Expo, there was a buzz in the room. I had several vets come up to me and thank the city for being involved. Some of them from Palm Springs, some of them from Hemet. So it is going out and getting more established out there. So great job for Anita and the Vet Expo committee. I attended RCA yesterday. We went over our mitigation fees collected from the cities, had a wildlife refuge update and a treasurer's update. We discussed the Lake Elsinore's preparation for the poppy bloom again. That was a major issue when they had the super bloom last year. That created a lot of issues with traffic and problems around that area, so they're trying to get a hold of it this year. Although they're not predicting a super bloom, they are still getting prepared and good, because it was pretty crazy. And lastly, the species of the month, we discussed the little mousetail, which is a rare annual herb, so it is a plant, and we discussed maintaining suitable habitat for the very, very small plant that exists in the agency's reserves. So that's it. Thank you.
Again, good. I think that was the best turnout I've seen at the Vet Expo as well. So good job on that. We had the annual RCTC meeting on Thursday and Friday. It was not. It wasn't really heavy on stuff. A lot of informational. We just had really one issue on the actual action item list, and that was to consider some debt restructuring. And thank you for coming to the Brookside Talent Show, both of you guys. It's something, even though we don't have any kids in Brookside in years, they keep coming to my wife every year and saying, okay, can you get me 3 dignitaries for it? So I do appreciate your coming out for that. And I had one other thing, and oh, yes, I do remember. LEAC, the Law Enforcement Appreciation Committee for Western Riverside County that I sit on, is having, we're going to do the comedy show fundraiser again here in Beaumont at Marla's, and that's on March 19th. So it's a lot of fun, and don't bring your kids, but if you can make it, let me know, because I have to sell some tickets. So anyone who wants to go or knows someone who wants to go, they can find me and I'll get some tickets. So it's a great event. And it raises money for the large dinner that we do every year. And it's important to what we do for our cops. So, thank you.
Very good. I just echo everybody in here, especially on the VA Expo. You know, that was an excellent, really event for the VA, especially for the staff. I mean, everybody really worked hard on putting together on that. I mean, all council in here, they're all right. I mean, there's a buzz in there and everything. The energy is so good. I mean, especially after the presentations and everything. You got Senator Mike Morale in there. You got Raul Ruiz, Congressman, and everybody there, and just really having fun on that. And then congratulations on that, especially Anita on that. And then we went to the chamber installation, another excellent installation dinner in there, and seeing all the good people in there, all the dignitaries, and really excited to be on that installation. So this week I'll be going to first time this year to SCAG meeting. That's why I'll miss February meeting with Todd on Thursday. I think that'll be coming Thursday. The Symetra meeting, so I'll miss that. So, yeah. So, other than that, really appreciate with you guys on supporting everybody here. Thank you. Okay. Next, we go again, Kyle. economic development update.
I don't know if that "here we go again" is good or bad, but I'm going to take it as a positive.
It is good. It is positive, man.
So I just want to let everyone know that the Economic Development Committee is meeting next Wednesday on February the 12th at 4 p.m. here at City Hall. And one of the key events that came up from the committee was the Mount San Jacinto career vehicle being here at City Hall once a month for every month for the year of 2020. So the first event was held on January 23rd. The vehicle was parked out here in the City Hall parking lot along 6th Street, so it was highly visible. And I found out today the participants, the numbers and everything, so it was pretty well. There was 5 people that showed up during the hours of operation, which for me is pretty good, considering it was the first time it was ever here. We hope to gain traction and determine how these people are finding out it's here, if our marketing's working or if it's passerbys. So in addition to that, I wanted to provide council and the community an update on who those 5 people were. And I'm not going to go over names or anything like that. But one of them was a gentleman that needed help sprucing up his resume and building on his interview skills, so he spent a couple hours there. Another gentleman utilized the career vehicle to apply for, I think, 2 or 3 jobs because it has internet in there. And that was easier for them than doing it at the library or somewhere else. And then the people in the vehicle can actually help them fill out that application online versus kind of doing it by yourself at home and you don't know exactly what to say when you're filling out the questionnaire. And then the last 3 surprised me. 2 of them were young mothers that had just dropped off their kids that swung by and applied for college. So they've now enrolled in Mount San Jacinto. And then the 5th one is a gentleman that lives in one of our retirement communities that previously attended Mount San Jacinto that has since retired but wants to go back to school, so he enrolled again. So I did not expect the career vehicle to produce that type of result, but it seems like furtherance of education is important to us within the area. I just didn't think that this type of event was going to lead to that type of result. So I was happy to present that to council. And that's it for my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. City Treasurer report?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
We had our Finance and Audit Committee meeting last night, and it was pretty good agenda. Not quite as long as this meeting, but we were pretty thorough. I'd like to review, are reviewing the council-assigned tasks, the 6 that we had, and I'm just going to give you an update. The number 1 on the list, just going down the list, was the CFD training, and it was reported that there was a meeting that, Mayor, you helped arrange, and it went over very well from the report that we received, and got some good feedback on our next steps of where we're going to go. The one thing was keeping it according to the KISS formula, keep it simple. But one of the things that were most worthy noted was a Q&A brochure. So there's going to be look into that, look into our people that are handling those calls right now, get that information back, and look at what kind of list, and then review it again with the realtors. But that was a very positive item they thought would be necessary. Also, they were open to having an annual meeting to discuss this. So it's moving along. Our next steps is to get the Q&A before we get into developing a material or any kind of marketing. The second item was to assist with the RFP, and audit services are still for audit services, and we're just about ready to start that process. It'll start when we review the audit that's here. We'll be implementing that, so we're about ready to hit the target line. Number 3, we're going to wait for about another 2 months for the investment review of our investments and any recommendations we'd make. Most of our tasks, all but one, was associated with finance, and we really caught them at a crunch time with the audit and everything. So that's why some of these are lagging, not really lagging. We put them off so that we didn't hit them with all 5 at one time. We have completed number 4, which was the IT security of our IT and internet and everything that we have here, and we had a presentation. I'll go over just a couple highlights of that in a minute. Number 5 is on grants, and number 6 was financial training planning, and we've put those on hold. They've been on hold. We were putting them out more into the 6-month range from when we started this project. IT presentation that Edgar gave us last night gave us a really good view that we're moving forward, considering 2 years ago when he came. He did a thorough review of what we had, and he has established some things that are putting us on a good track right now that he feels better about. One of the things he highlighted was we now have 3 sets of data, so we have backup if something happens. And his concern is the ransomware that's been going around affecting many cities in Texas. I believe Georgia had some that I've read. So we have these 3 sets of data. The other thing is the approach is going to be more of a preventative approach in what we want to do. We don't want to wait till it happens. So there's there. And of course, money would be the answer if you had all the money in the world, but we're taking small steps. It's improved to where we are, and I think we should feel good about that, but not to say we're satisfied. And he's really working on some training with the users, policies, because that's where a lot of this breaks down, is little slips from a casual email can trigger this all off. So they're working with our users, our employees here. Okay. Last that we have on the list that we did is we voted to change the date, if the council has no problem with it, of our meeting from the first Monday of the month to the second Monday of the month. 2 reasons. One, it gives finance a little bit of time to be able to prepare reports. If it comes in on the first, and the first is a Monday, they really don't have a lot of time to get the report together. And then, in turn, the committee would have very little time to review it before it would be going to you. So we voted to say that we would move it to the second Monday of the month, starting next month. That's all I have.
Very good.
I mentioned the special meeting.
Oh. Well, you could,
Just a
you
reminder.
gun shy? You could have helped
That's
me.
why we sit close
That's
here.
it. Here we go.
But wait,
Yes,
there's more.
we are. And there is more. We are having a special audit finance review next Monday. We'll have a preliminary meeting with Jeff and 2 other people in-house, one of his senior accountants and another person, and Steve Cooley and myself, the chairman, and myself, to review the audit, and then we will have the whole committee review it that night at this special meeting. And then you will have it on the 18th.
Yeah. Very
So
good.
we're on schedule for
Thank
that
you.
with everything. Jeff's done a really good job pushing this process along and keeping us on track so we aren't into the April, May, June timeframe.
Very good. Thank you, Barry. Okay, City Clerk report.
First of all, Mr. Mayor, I was pleased to participate in the Vets Expo as an exhibitor for the California Senior Legislature. I agree with what everybody else said. It's one of the best things this community does, and it's getting better every year. Secondly, my report for the month of December, we had 32 requests and 32 completed requests for public records. 22 of them, I'm sorry, from one individual. And the staff time allocated was 5.75 staff hours. Lastly, I really want to commend Todd and Communications Director Ashley Starr for the latest edition of the City Manager's Report, particularly the progress report and the timeline on the new fire station. That is precisely the kind of transparency and information that our citizens need, want, and deserve. And keep it up, keep it up. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. City Attorney report. Mr. Peter.
Yes, just briefly, behind tab number 20, you have the status report on pending litigation that's been filed against the city and served on the city. The first item, some of these you're already very familiar with. We've gone over them in the past. But just briefly, for the benefit of those who are listening or here this evening, Urban Logic filed a lawsuit against the City of Beaumont alleging that it had certain invoices that the city hadn't paid totaling about $800,000. And the city then filed a cross complaint against Urban Logic for millions in damages that the city alleged that Urban Logic had caused. That case has been slowed down as a result of Urban Logic filing bankruptcy. And since the filing of the bankruptcy, the company that purchased Urban Logic in or about 2012, Torcal, and its owner have been added to the lawsuit. And they've filed a motion challenging the fact that they were added to the lawsuit, and that will be heard in the near future, I believe in March. And then Aguirre versus the City of Beaumont, we have a trial setting conference scheduled on March 23rd in that case. And then Elizabeth Serrato versus the City of Beaumont. You'll remember this is the case involving the car that alleges that the tire got stuck in a sinkhole. And that case, we filed a motion for summary judgment, and we believe that will be heard again in March. So there was a hearing, and the court continued it, and it'll be heard again in March, we believe. So Santa Cruz case is at the pretrial stage, and then Charles Peters, Pioneer Mobile Village versus the City of Beaumont. We have a demur pending in that case. And then in addition to those cases, I just briefly wanted to mention the City of Beaumont has filed a lawsuit against former bond counsel McFarland and Anderson, and then also filed a lawsuit against Norton Rose, which formerly served as the city's bond disclosure counsel. And then we also have, working in concert with WRCOG, a claim pending against the city's employee theft and dishonesty insurance carrier, AIG. So that's a summary of everything that we have. And then on the 5 items that are listed as pending against the city, I'm hopeful that the next report will have one less on it. And then I have a question for the council. How many city managers does it take to screw in a light bulb?
Well done.
A room full. They have to have a meeting to discuss all the ramifications of the change.
Hey, see, you asked.
And it
You asked for it, man.
takes two trucks to do it.
Because it's John's first joke.
First joke, man, publicly. Okay.
Well, he did encourage me to use humor a little bit more, which I don't normally do. And I ran some jokes by him, and he said, absolutely not. You cannot tell those jokes. So.
City manager report. There you go.
Oh. Yeah, it's biting. Terrible, terrible. Why don't sharks eat attorneys? Professional courtesy, that's right. And now you see why. One of the things Mr. Genetti forgot to mention, a very important element of the business of the audit committee last night was a reorganization, and we are in the presence of the brand new chair of the Finance and Audit Committee. So, he said to call him boss. Capital boss. And then, it's really interesting because just this morning I was listening to a report, an environmental report, and they talked about a brand new endangered species identified in Northern California. And they said it was related in genus and species to the little tiny rat tail that you mentioned earlier. And it's called officially the Kyle Shanahan lead in the Super Bowl. So apparently that's an endangered species as well. So we are on the lookout for that. So that concludes my report for you tonight.
Thank you. Okay, future agenda items. Anyone? No. Good. Very good. So next meeting will be February 18, and I adjourn this meeting, City Council, at 8:51.
Blew right past your time.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
All right, guys.